Hello, friends, and welcome back to r/ProRevenge. Let's start our video with the story of the most ungrateful tenant ever. But before we begin, don't forget to subscribe to our channel if you're new here and turn on notifications so you don't miss a new video every single day. Here we go. Near homeless friend moves in with her 2 kids, becomes so entitled she's now about to come homeless anyway. Bought 2 apartments cheap a few years back, both of which required a lot of work, and both came with tenants. The tenants downstairs were in their 80s and on a fixed income, and were thrilled that they finally had a landlord who gives a crap, replaced their windows, fixed their boiler, replaced the doors. You could literally see sunlight coming in around the edges of the old doors. They were freezing. Fixed some electrical problems, installed a ceiling fan, etc. Did as much as I could while the place was occupied. Shoot forward to March 2018, and sadly, the old woman died. The family put her husband in an assisted care facility. It was about the same time that a friend of mine, let's call her Summer, contacted me because she heard about the old woman dying. She was about to lose her apartment and was a single mom with 2 kids, approximately 6-month-old baby and 15-year-old daughter. She had nowhere else to go and was asking if she could move in. I'd known Summer for at least 10 years, so decided to help her out. Looking over her history, I'm not surprised in the slightest that she had trouble finding accommodations. She had a dog, a felony conviction, multiple outstanding warrants for unpaid parking tickets, and an eviction from 2014. All things that landlords around here understandably tend to frown upon. But hey, she's a friend, so I stupidly ignored every red flag and decided to help her the best I could. We had 2 weeks to get a rehab done that ordinarily would have taken a couple of months. The place had quite literally not been updated in over 20 years. Using vacation, we steam removed all the wallpaper, ripped out the old flooring, spackled holes, repainted the whole apartment, replaced all the floors with either new stain guard carpet or laminate, replaced the kitchen cabinets, put in a dishwasher. There was still a lot of trim that needed done, and I noticed little things like the new kitchen cabinet didn't come with handles. But we were out of time, so I told Summer to move in, get settled, and make a list of everything that needs addressed. First thing I found odd was that I kept getting utility bills after she moved in. When I asked her if she had transferred the electric/water to her name, she got defensive and told me she can't transfer the bills until she had a meeting with her on-track advisor. I called and spoke with 2 different representatives for on-track, and both told me the same thing. You need to actually have the electric bill in your name to even be eligible for the program. I decided to be the better person, didn't tell her about these phone conversations, and instead told Summer that I would pay her utility bills for a month while she got this all figured out. I then instructed PPL and the water company to disconnect both services after that date. Next thing I found odd was that the next month's rent didn't find its way to my mailbox after she told me she mailed it a week ago. When I asked her about it, she got defensive and told me she deliberately didn't mail the check to teach me a lesson. What? This is what you get for not fixing up the place like you said you would. I politely reminded her that we had completely gutted and rehabbed the place in record time for her, to which she replied, "You wouldn't have had to do it anyway." I then also reminded her that I was still waiting on that list of items she wanted addressed. Well, maybe you'll get your rent when you finish it. Okay, I stuck a notice to quit on her door. She apologized, sobbed, and gave me the rent money. At this point, I was so ticked off, I told her there would be no further updates to the place until she paid her security deposit, which I agreed to let her pay off in installments. Also, since she lied about a check in the mail, I told her that she needed to start putting her rent in my mailbox, which is about 10 feet from the door. This turned out to actually hurt me more than her, however, because now she just lies about putting checks in the box, making me drive all the way out there for nothing. We had an eviction hearing 2 weeks ago, and I agreed to let her stay through spring since Pennsylvania is currently experiencing a winter vortex. And our second story. If you won't, I will. This happened in the fall of 2011. A friend of mine, we'll call her Rita, had been working as a cashier at Target for several months when the Masani fashion house decided to release a limited line through the Target brand. This would have been a really cool opportunity to get some very fashionable, cutting-edge clothes had not resellers swooped in the first second the store opened and stripped literally every piece of Missoni clothing off the racks and bundled them home to resell on eBay. The worst was this one awful woman, AW, who would gather all the Missoni stuff in a cart and then just hang around the clothing area to gloat and make fun of people who came looking for pieces. AW would say stuff like, "Aw, did you want that nice zigzag skirt? Too slow, better luck next time, ha ha ha." And she'd have 10 of that skirt just sitting in her cart. AW was also rude AF to cashiers and demanded managers to try and complain her way into discounts. Basically, a total human trash fire all around. Rita and practically every other employee and regular shopper wanted to screw her over so bad. The Missoni items had a Target price tag on them and a Missoni branded tag with an unrelated UPC tag on them from the company. Rita discovered that for some reason this second Missoni code would ring up as an older HP printer that had been discounted to just under $100, instead of whatever $25 Missoni skirt it actually was. So Rita called me, her frequent partner in shenanigans, and devised a plan. She managed to get several managers in on it who were sick and tired of taking customer complaints about resellers ruining this limited release for everyone else. They made sure the overnight stalkers didn't put the Target price tags on a new batch of Missoni dresses before putting them on the sales floor. Rita was on register the following morning and watched as AW hustled in and made a beeline for the dresses. I walked in a few minutes behind her, and she set up to gloat a while, and I relaxed with coffee in the mini Starbucks by the registers. When AW had finished making as many of her fellow shoppers miserable as possible, she waddled up to the only open register, manned by Rita. I immediately got up and got into line behind her. Rita started scanning the dresses, which came up at $99.88 instead of $49.99. AW flipped out and started screaming for a manager, who came right over. After a few minutes of screeching, AW stepped back from the register with crossed arms and said the magic words, "I'm not buying them at that price," to which I cheerfully piped up behind her, "If you won't, I will." I tossed my credit card to Rita, who caught it, swiped it, and finished the transaction in a matter of seconds, with the manager watching and wearing a big smile. I elbowed my way past the sputtering AW to sign my slip and pick up my bag of 7 new Missoni dresses. Well, AW lost her tiny little mind and came at me shrieking I was a thief. She snatched the bag out of my hands and ran for the door. Luckily, loss prevention had been alerted by the loudness of her previous fuss, and they nabbed her before she went out the door. Life pro tip, don't ever screw with loss prevention at Target. They're like the CIA, popping out of walls and stuff. AW got arrested, trespassed from the store, and probably prosecuted for felony theft, as the amount was more than $300. I spent the rest of the day very slowly returning 7 very expensive printers that looked like Missoni dresses, one every hour or so, to the delight of 7 random women who forgot to buy them when they were properly repriced and wrapped. And Rita? She was buried in drinks bought for her by appreciative team members and eventually went on to get promoted to executive team leader before going away to college. Thankfully, the only a-holes here are the ones who are supposed to be a-holes, and not the managers. When the manager turns out to be a spineless jerk, I get bad vibes. But this is all good. And our last story. Bringing your employees to tears? Say goodbye to your position and pay $1 million in fines. If you've ever been in a divorce, you know step 1 is keeping the anger from going sideways. I'd just been dumped by my wife, who left with my 10-month-old son. I ended up at my folks' house in the middle of nowhere, Texas, a famous town for prisons if you know the area. 80% of it is government money that gets paid monthly. And in this area, there was a Dairy Queen like the ones we know and love. I needed to earn gas money to get back to the county where my son was, so I worked it during the week. Until one day, when my assistant manager is out cleaning the lobby while I'm on break, she's near tears, and even despite my own mental seclusion, it's hard to ignore someone obviously on the verge of crying. When I ask her what's wrong, she tells me that they doctored her paycheck. She worked 60 hours, they paid her for 30, and they do this all the time. I knew this was a crap job, but suddenly all of my pent-up ex-wife anger started coming out sideways on the way home. I roll through the best way to approach it. Address management? Nah, they know. Sue them? Nope, you'd need fees for that, and the amount you win isn't enough. I do some digging, and some other practices they were doing were illegal, violating pay laws. So after quickly realizing that getting 10 of my comrades to join me in a class action suit would be impossible, because I'd have to explain it to them, I just ended up calling the Department of Labor of FLSA violations. Those are $1,100 a pop. Turns out not paying us wasn't the biggest problem, but that the manager sent us on break whenever things slowed down and our labor/rev number got too high. On these breaks, we weren't paid. So I talk around to other folks there. It happens all the time. A manager had tried to bring it up in the past and gotten fired. Assistant manager got me paper records. So I call up the local DOL office, file a complaint, and make sure to mention that we're part of a franchise chain. There are 130 stores in 3 states, and the rumor is this happens elsewhere. Nothing happens. So I call the executive director of my region and ask when we'll have an answer on this. 3 weeks later, a guy from DOL is sitting in my crap town and wondering what the hell I'm doing there. I explain and we bond over getting crap kicked by divorce. A few weeks later, I hear from him again, over $1 million in fines. Turns out the store manager, not the assistant, had her boyfriend, who said she was her cousin because it's backwoods Texas, hack the computers to change the payroll information, and to confound the dumb buttery, when she left, she stole a power washer. So the manager of the store was arrested for felony theft, some sort of hacking charge, and the parent company ended up filing for bankruptcy because they couldn't pay the fines. My old coworkers now get paid vacation time. And I have my son 50% of the time. He's now 6. Hey guys, thank you all for watching the video. I'll see you in the next one.